Greetings, now I'd like to bring this information to your attention. Someone I know received a text from the local doctor's surgery informing them that they're going to be changing their Ventolin inhaler at some point. Now I didn't see the actual text, but they were sent a link which they forwarded to me, and it took them to this page, environmental impact of inhalers. I thought many people completely trust the NHS and their doctor's surgery. They wouldn't for one second think that they would ever be misled by an organisation who profits from making sure you're on a prescription. There's such an impact on the environment based on people puffing inhalers. In October 2020, the NHS became the world's first health service to commit to reaching carbon net zero in response to the profound and growing threat to health posed by climate change. More information can be found at this link. We will be having a look at that link in a minute to see if any of this information, such as what we can see here, one Ventolin inhaler produces the same amount of carbon emissions as driving 175 miles in a small petrol car. MDIs contain powerful greenhouse gases in the spray that are 1,000 to 3,000 times more powerful than carbon dioxide and constitute a quarter of general practices prescribing footprint as well as contributing to global warming. Do you think they would make such a claim and not, at the very least, produce a source where you can actually see where they got this information from? As I said, there's one link on this information sheet and we'll be having a look at it. Apparently the NHS contributes 4 to 5% of the UK's carbon emissions. For comparison, 5.9% of our footprint relates to air travel. Prescribing low carbon alternative dry powder inhalers, DPIs instead of sprays, metered dose inhalers, has enormous potential to reduce the general practice's carbon footprint. Are they saying that what they spray out of these inhalers are 1,000 to 3,000 times more powerful than carbon dioxide? I'm not sure if they're suggesting that carbon dioxide is a pollutant in some way. It isn't. It's a natural part of the environment. It's just a natural gas that is produced by every living creature and absolutely isn't a pollutant and absolutely is not going to change the temperature one jot. People are living in dream world if they believe that. Anyway, we'll have a look at the second part of this information sheet to see if they can back up the claims about one inhaler being the same as driving 175 miles in a petrol car. The best way of reducing environmental impacts of inhalers is for your asthma to be well controlled. If your asthma is well controlled, dry powder inhalers do not use propellants and so have substantially lower impact on climate change. For more patients, dry powder inhalers are a very effective alternative to metered dose inhalers. Basically, the NHS have found a customer who are prepared to pay through the nose, probably to very particular suppliers, in order to have their new dry inhaler put on the market. And that is what the NHS is. It's a business. They're in the business of prescribing drugs, and that is what they do. Nowhere, however, will they back up any of these claims that they make. For example, climate change. That's been going on for decades. Since I was a kid, I remember being absolutely fuming at my brother because he refused to use a deodorant can that was greenhouse friendly or some rubbish like that, and I was terrified his actions were ruining the ozone layer. That's what they told us. They forgot about that now, apparently. And none of what they said back then ever happened. Sea levels never rose. It never got particularly warmer or colder. All a bunch of crud. Okay, we will have a look at this link from the NHS just to see if they do actually back up their claims about emissions. What crap must they be putting into these inhalers if they're 1,000 to 3,000 times more powerful than carbon dioxide? I mean, powerful in what sense? This is where the link will take you, delivering us net zero NHS. And this is basically just telling us how they plan to lower the amount of carbon dioxide they produce by 2036 to 2039, by which time no one will probably even be considering it anymore. The only thing they provide you on this website, on the NHS website, is this image of Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 and travel. Just an infographic and means absolutely nothing. Of course, very many people trust the NHS, doctors, the pharmaceutical industry, seeming to forget that their motivation isn't the health and well-being of us. It isn't even Earth being habitable for the next however many years. To believe man has any way of controlling the temperature long-term is ridiculous and is taking away power of our creator. If we're not worrying about catching some illness or we're not worrying about a terrorist blowing themselves up on our doorstep, then maybe we should worry that future generations won't get to enjoy the kind of earth we have now. That's what they'd have us believe. Personally, don't believe a word of it. I just wanted to bring the latest crap from the NHS to your attention. As always, I'm interested to hear what you think. If you are, then please stop living in fear about the rubbish you hear on the news or even from the NHS. Trust in God and your life will be a whole lot better. Thanks for taking the time to watch this, and I'll see you in the comment section. Goodbye. Bye.